Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday. Happy birthday!
I am magnanimously celebrating your birthday.
Happy birthday!
It's not my birthday!
Marvelous hello, friends and loved ones! Today is the official stateside release of Rune Factory 5, a game that I have been eagerly looking forward to. But thankfully, while I was waiting, I had another game to help tide me over. Because I've been playing Rune Factory. Tides of Destiny. Back in my Rune Factory 4 video, I talked about how that was the only entry in the series I'd actually played at that point. So for this video, I decided to try out Tides of Destiny for two main reasons. One, it's the only home console entry besides Frontier, which is a direct sequel, and two, I figured since it was treated as sort of a guide-in game, that it could provide a new and unique experience and possibly make for a better video. For whatever it's worth, I am playing the PS3 version because that just seemed like a better idea to me. So, the game opens up with our two protagonists, Aiden and Sonia. You can actually name them whatever you want, but I don't know, with Rune Factory, I tend to keep the default names, with one exception I'll get to later. These two are the most cliché anime childhood friend dynamic you could possibly have, which is very evident in the opening. But then some guy appears and does a thing. Now Aiden is in the future, or the past, or an alternate dimension. You really don't find out until later. Also, Sonia doesn't have her own body anymore and lives inside Aiden. If I sound like I'm being way too nonchalant about all this, it's because basically every other character in the game is too. Outside of the initial shock, everybody is pretty unfazed by, I traveled through time and or space, and also this girl lives in my body. Fortunately, within minutes of all this craziness happening, Aiden meets up with Odette, one of the three sisters who runs the local inn, and she decides the smartest thing to do is give us a house. Because it's not like she runs a business that involves giving people a place to stay or anything. So on the very first day, you're free to run around the island and introduce yourself to people, and I will say this, I love Fenith Island. I know it's because I grew up in Hawaii, but I am a sucker for cozy island locations. There are really only a few key places to check out, but everything feels like it serves a proper purpose, and I just immediately got sucked into this location thanks to its design and its background music. As for the townsfolk themselves, I'm a bit more mixed. Remember how in Rune Factory 4 I was a little crestfallen about how many hot hotties weren't eligible bachelorettes? Well, Tides of Destiny is basically a harem anime. Nearly the entire island is comprised of eligible bachelorettes. You've got all three sisters that run the inn, that come in the anime flavors of Big Boobs McMatronly, Spunky Tomboy, and Shy Delicate Flower who has an obvious crush on you from the word go. There's the golem-building blacksmith, the hyperactive shopkeeper, the evil sorceress hellbent on world domination, the kind noble, her dark elf maid, and the guy who is obviously a girl, but we're not supposed to know that yet, but it's pretty obvious. Not to mention, childhood best friend. Sure, she's trapped inside our body now, but that just means we're already sleeping together every night. So, what's the problem, you may ask? Lots of bachelorettes sounds awesome, right? Well, it is, but there's not a whole lot to remember beyond that. In Rune Factory 4, I loved Bado's laziness. I enjoyed Nancy and Jones's happy marriage, even if I was insanely jealous. Porcoline de Saint Coquille is a character I love so much, he's literally the reason I open every video with
Marvelous hello!
When you remove all of Aiden's bachelorettes and the much smaller handful of bachelors for Sonia, you're left with a bearded fisherman, an eccentric priest, two children, a handful of characters who only periodically visit the island, and of course our resident member of the de Saint Coquille family. This time, the lovably adventurous Beatrix, who believes there's oodles upon noodles of treasure buried in her backyard. She's fun. I like her. There are also these more generic characters that don't get portraits or count as villagers you can raise friendship with, so I don't really count them. Like Bernie, who hangs out in caves and tries to justify his monster fetish to himself. Hashtag relatable. While I do think the cast is a bit on the small side, I love how Tides of Destiny handles friendship. Basically, every single character has multiple friendship events, which are not only enjoyable narratively, but actually do serve a function mechanically, as higher friendship with the Islanders unlocks newer quests and abilities in the game. It makes talking to everybody on the island and giving them presents every single day a worthwhile and important part of your routine. I am absolutely giving the game a gold star for this. Then I'm taking it away and replacing it with a slightly smaller gold star because these people are super clingy. They comment how long it's been since they've seen you if you go like 2 days without saying hello. At the end of your first night, Sonia finds a seed and plants it, allowing it to grow into a giant golem named Ymir. Except he's my exception to keeping a character's default name. I called him Craig. Everybody say hello to Craig. There wouldn't really be much to this game if we were confined to the relatively tiny Fenith Island, but thanks to Craig, we'll be able to walk through the seas and discover true adventure! And this is probably Tides of Destiny's biggest problem, for you see, exploring the vast open ocean on the back of your mighty golem is... boring. It's really boring. Even when you use the kind of fast travel system, it's just not fun, and lumbering your way through the ocean can eat up a lot of your day. Occasionally you'll encounter enemy monsters in the ocean, which basically turn into these, like, almost kaiju fights, and while that sounds awesome, it's really not. It's just like the world's slowest and most simplistic beat-em-up. It breaks up the monotony with something even worse. Now, one thing you may have noticed is that this is a Rune Factory video, and I haven't even mentioned farming yet, and that's because there isn't any. At least not in the traditional sense. There's no plot of land behind your house where you can grow crops, there are no seeds to buy from the dork and his modestly hot sister who run the general store, you don't even get a watering can. Instead, throughout the story, you'll stumble upon 4 special islands that represent spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And by dropping down spirits that you pick up on your adventures, you'll bring life back to these islands, allowing you to grow crops on them. And by you, I mean your monsters. All I can do is wave my magic stick over pre-designated planting spots, and what grows is dependent on what monsters you currently have assigned to your island. Tides of Destiny has a much bigger focus on taming wild monsters by brushing them while they beat you up. Some monsters will grow crops, like this spring flower I befriended and named Sumire. As a flower, she mostly grows flowers, but when I recruited a goblin, it actually grew some crops for me, like strawberries and potatoes. Then you've got monsters that don't grow anything, but instead provide you with goods, like the most fearsome and powerful woolly in the world, Barbarian, giving me wool, or Flambe, the fire hornet, giving me honey. It's like a regular bee, only it's on fire. There are even monsters that don't provide you with anything, or grow anything on the islands, but they will harvest the stuff that grows for you. I didn't need this at first, but as you bring more life to each island and are able to grow a lot of stuff, I became more and more grateful for the Mantis twins, Bo and Cho, handling the work for me. And on the Winter Island, it's too cold to grow anything, but it's great for mining, so I sent Hot Sauce the Fire Slime to work for me there. I'm not really a huge fan of this system, since I think it feels a little limiting. You don't get to just grow what you want, you can only recruit monsters that might grow what you want, and it kinda coerces you to tame monsters you may not even want to use. I didn't really want to tame a goblin, I just needed strawberries, and eventually I got an adorable little earth spirit I called Dirthea that grew everything the goblin grew and then some. The more you befriend the townsfolk, the more requests you'll unlock, and that eventually leads to story-related quests. The main storyline of the game mostly involves unlocking and traversing through 4 elemental temples and solving the mystery as to why you're in the future, or the past, or maybe alternate dimension, and figuring out how to get Sonia back into her much more attractive body. One aspect I actually do really like in these temples is that they freeze the clock during boss battles. I really appreciated that. And I'll confess, just like when I did my video on Rune Factory 4 Special, I have not finished the main storyline yet, despite having played the game for nearly 100 hours. Because Rune Factory games aren't meant to be rushed through. They're about establishing a routine and going on epic quests and wooing the hottest hotties and crafting and cooking and farming, except not really in this case, but waving your magic stick to make sprouts pop out of the ground. Despite my handful of complaints, with golem exploration being a bit of a slog and farming feeling like it removes a sense of personal responsibility from it, I did really enjoy my time with Tides of Destiny. The characters are delightful, the island environment feels wonderful, the combat is fluid and fun when you're on the ground, not when you're the golem. Raising skill levels for pretty much everything, from walking to fighting to sleeping, is as satisfying as ever. It does things a bit different, but it still provided me with a Rune Factory experience that I put down having enjoyed my time with it. Okay, but I've put off talking about this long enough, haven't I? You all want to know who I dated, don't you? I already mentioned there are a lot of great bachelorettes in this game, and it was pretty hard to narrow it down. At first I was actually considering dating Electra, because who wouldn't want to become part of the Descent Coquille family, but honestly, she really didn't stand out to me too much. I found myself much more drawn towards Merowyn, because... Dark Elf Maid, nuff said. She's sassy, sarcastic, sexy, and did I mention she's a Dark Elf Maid? But honestly, as I was playing, I soon realized something with Lily, the oldest of the three sisters. Red hair, giant boobs, falls down a lot. She's basically my actual girlfriend, so once that thought came into my head, I felt like there was no one else more worthy of my devotion. Besides, she's obviously the best girl. How else could she have won the annual Miss Feneth contest? To which I just so happened to be a judge. Still, I decided there's no one I'd rather date than Lily. I'd rather not. I feel like that would make things a little weird. Stop making it weird! Tides of Destiny was great fun, and I'm sure I'll wind up coming back to it and finishing it one of these days. But I stopped before I got too burnt out on the experience, and because I wanted to give myself enough time to finish this video, as well as prepare myself for Rune Factory 5. What? It's out. I'm prepared. Hey everyone, thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, be sure to click like, but if you really liked it, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Extra special thanks to all my friends and loved ones over on Patreon, which you can pledge to today to see your own name in these ending credits. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.